visitors?
Yes, sir. Princess Rhodes, sir.
Let that woman in.
She insisted you'd summoned her.
In the future, you will ignore any claim that that woman makes. Under no circumstances is she to be admitted. Am I clear? What are you doing in my house?
Waiting patiently. For you.
I warn you. If you interfere with me again, I shall have you thrown out of the country.
Please, may we talk like sensible human beings?
I want you out of this house at once.
You and I, Mr. Rhodes, either pulling together or tearing each other apart. Your choice.
Stop this nonsense and get out.
I mean it. If you refuse me as an ally, you will have to face me as an enemy. But you won't let it come to that, will you?
No, I won't. Because it's perfectly clear to me you're a woman who's lost her wits. And any skill you might once have had at manipulating people's lives, now get out! Before I have the boys throw you out.
Such poor judgment, Mr. Rhodes.
There's nothing you can do to harm me.
Not yet. But I'm getting closer and closer every day. But we won't let it come to that, will we?
Would you like to try some of these?
No, thank you. I've had quite enough. What a delightful picture they made. Mr. Curry, I'm curious about one thing. You are one of Mr. Merriman's greatest supporters in the house.
Yes, I admire him greatly.
Yet for a long while you were very close to Mr. Rhodes. What happened? What brought about such a radical change? You were with Mr. Rhodes, weren't you? In that extraordinary year when Lobengula...
The year of the Charter. Yes, what an extraordinary year that was. First he made me secretary of his goldfields company. Remarkable, wasn't it? From messenger boy to company secretary in one leap.
Why, do you think?
I was 23. It was a time when gold fever had gripped the Transvaal, and Ferreira's camp had burgeoned into the city of Johannesburg, as rough and ruthless as Kimberley in the early days.
You're doing a fine job, Harry.
When did you get here?
What's he up to, do you think? Who? Barney?
Oh, it's incredible. He's buying everything he can lay his hands on.
Poor old Barney. Probably the richest man in the world, and he can't stop fighting.
Quite.
No, he's welcome to it this time. What we have is worth 50 Johannesburgs. Harry, I'm about to enter the epoch of my life. With nothing but a nigger's mark to back me, I have to persuade the British people, the British government, and Her Majesty the Queen that I have an indisputable right to everything that lies between the Zambezi and the Limpopo. The Royal Charter, passed by Parliament, signed by Her Majesty the Queen, a declaration that any German, Portuguese, or anyone who challenges me challenges the might of Great Britain.
Well, you'll get it. You'll get it. Come on, you'll have them eating out of your hand.
Oh, Harry, you've grown up in a new and generous country where a man can go as far as his imagination takes him, where I am Cecil Rhodes, cabinet minister and chairman of De Beers and Goldfields. You have no conception of the meanness and rigidity of England, where I shall be Cecil Rhodes, the fifth son of a country parson, no more, no less.
Rhodes, when have you ever failed to get anything you've set your heart on?
I'm going to need you with me, Harry. Heart and soul.
This is the same text in Dutch to be sent to these addresses.
Sir, that's 30 telegrams.
34, to be precise.
Harry! Can you wind up your affairs within a week?
A week?
Good! I'm living on the afternoon coach. You wait for instructions.
Well, what on earth's happened?
Telephone Maud. He's thrown down my gauntlet. I'm going to head him off.
Mr. Bond.
I'm Maund. What do you want?
Dr. Rutherford Harris. I'm an associate of Mr. Rhodes.
Who is most anxious to meet me?
At your earliest convenience, Mr. Morn.
I should think sometime after 10. Tonight.
Tonight.
Yes, I have far more important things to arrange first.
I see.
Seem to have put on a little weight since last time, Mr. Walker. We'll soon remedy that. Rhodes was walking the street yesterday. She looked exquisite in that new outfit. Morning.
Hey! Footsec!
Mind your language.
You! Put that hat down! Down!
Mjegla hambedu. Ya police.
Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me. Would you mind standing back, please?
Enchanted! Enchanted!
Excuse me. Excuse me.
Come in.
Good evening, Mr. Rhodes.
So pleased you could come. I'd like you to meet Dr. Johnson. Your companion's not with you?
No, they're waiting at the station.
The station.
And they'll be on tonight's train to Cape Town, whatever happens.
I expect you'd like a drink. What do you have?
I'll join you in a brandy, thank you. Thank you.
Pleasant trip, was it?
Possible.
Curious route you took.
Mr. Rhodes, we are both busy men.
Yes, aren't we? Now, I'm told that you claim to have a letter from Lobengula.
Signed, witnessed, and marked with his official seal. He has repudiated your concession. In his opinion, your agents acted dishonestly.
Yes, I'm aware of the allegation, but I doubt its authenticity, as do all the responsible newspaper editors who received your telegrams.
Seems I was woefully ignorant of your influence in those circles. Still, no matter. At the end of the day, it's the opinion of the British government that counts, not so?
Maund. Why should we be working against each other? Send those two niggers back where they came from, and let's you and I come to a sensible arrangement.
Mr. Rhodes, I have been placed in a position of trust.
You take me for a fool, Maund, do you? Fellas like you don't run errands for Kaffirs. You're Lord Gifford's man. And I warn you, you're backing a loser.
In the circles that matter, I'd say his lordship was a clear favourite.
All right, suppose you succeed in ruining our little scheme, and the British government gives Lord Gifford their support. What good's he going to do you? You couldn't take Matabele land with 50,000 quid. Forget Gifford. Come in with us. You'll have the might of De Beers behind you.
I better be on my way.
You're a fool, Maund, and I'll prove it to you.
And the moment you get on that train, I'll telegraph Sir Hercules myself and tell him that there's an adventurer called Maund on his way with a couple of niggers he picked up in the veldt. Good night, Mr. Rhodes.
Got you rattled, hasn't he?
I'll go over his head. Telegraph Gifford myself.
Fine. But if you want my advice, you'll secure your base first. Quabulla way, old man. Get your guns up there before you leave for England. Doesn't matter if old Lob accepts them or not. Who's to know? The moment you dump those crates in his kraal, you can tell the world you've honored the deal, and the likes of Maund won't have a leg to stand on.
I can't, Jim. I can't. It's 3 months there and back. Must get to London.
Then send Rudd, for God's sake.
It's impossible. He'd never go back.
Must be somebody in that whole bloody organization. You're wasting your time, Rhodes.
Angithanda ukukhuluma nawe kakhulu. Lokhu sizokusho sesichapashile.
What's he say?
He needs to speak to the Queen directly. Lobengula insists, so will you kindly give him the road?
I can't make it any plainer. The Colonial Office insists that all communications go through me. I'm sorry I can't give him the road.
I don't see how you're going to stop us. We're all free men. We'll board the next boat.
As far as I'm concerned, you can subject these men to as much discomfort and expense as you please. But you won't achieve a thing. I am not to be disturbed.
I'm sorry, sir. I was told this would have a direct bearing on the meeting.
Maund, could I have a private word?
Uthi masingaweli lwazi manje singayiweli manje.
Maund. Exquisite day, isn't it, Maund? Tea.
Well, we seem to be on the same side now. Your principals, Lord Gifford and Mr. Corston, have accepted my offer, caught a share in the concession. All be signed and sealed when I get back to London. Do sit down. I think it's still hot. Tell me about this Zoe Valley that Gifford wants you to have. Hobby horse of yours, is it?
Central Mashonaland. Exceptionally fertile. I've had my eye on it for some time, yes.
Then you shall have it, Maund, you shall. As soon as we take the country, have a sandwich. I must say, you're a damn clever fellow. I had no idea you'd got the old savage to pay for this jaunt. How much did he give you?
£600.
£600? My God. He must have emptied his treasury. You better make sure you give him value for money, eh, Maund? Well, I think you'll find Sir Hercules a lot more cooperative now.
You want us to go through with this visit?
Well, you can't afford to let the old savage down now, can you, Maund? Don't worry. It'll all work out to our advantage. Well, I shouldn't think Her Majesty's Matabele is up to much, would you? So those two old buggers will only hear what your pal Colin Brander wants them to hear. I said, do try one of these. They're simply delicious.
You'll be coming with us?
Well, it'll be a little bit too obvious, don't you think? No, I shall be about a month behind you. Dr. Jamison and I have some business to conclude.
bam, ngeke ayile.
Kodwa cabanga wazi kahle amhlophe mfowethu ukuthi iqhawe kalibaleki. Kodwa cabanga mfowethu wena wazi kahle amhlophe.
Uthini manje somabulani? Ngoba phela ukuthi Thompson unamanga. Ngeke azilethe isibhamu.
Kodwa cabanga mfowethu wena wazi kahle amhlophe ukuthi iqhawe kalibaleki. Iqhawe yahlangabeza sitha.
Do we have a problem?
Well, they say it's cowardly to fight with rifles.
Benithangeka zilethe ibhamu. Ngikhaliswa yini lona? Ukuthi iqhawe kalibaleki. Yahlangabeza sitha ngamuke amabheshi.
Ngeke zilethe ibhamu. Njengoba ethembisile, ngikhaliswa yini lona?
Thakathiwe. Isenhlungwini.
What did he say? He says his leg is bewitched. Tell him I can cure him. I'm a doctor. Tell him, go.
Nkosi nkulu. Mfowethu uJamison anga kupelise. Lokho khulumba. Ungudokotela.
Udokotela yena lo? Udokotela yena lo? Udokotela yena lo? Udokotela yena lo? Sinyanga yethu la ekhaya.
The ambassadors to the King of Matabeleland, Their Excellencies Mr. Muchetti and Mr. Baby Yard, Her Majesty's Secretary of State for the Colonies, Lord Knutsford, Mr. Moore, and Mr. Colenbrander.
What the devil are you doing here?
No need for introductions, I take it.
No, indeed.
I'm sure Mr. Sulu has been something of an inspiration for you chaps. You go back to the days of Lobengula's father, don't you?
Not quite, sir. My first hunting expedition was 16 years ago. Lobengula was already king.
Oh, 16 years, eh? Such a happy coincidence to have you in London.
Yes, isn't it?
Pray silence. Her Majesty the Queen.
Fabian, Chet, Sukuman. Sukuman.
Mr. Machebe, Your Majesty, and Mr. Baby Yarn.
We welcome you, and we're most grateful for your gifts.
Indlovukazi iyanimukela futhi iyazibongela ngezandla ezimbili izipho zenu.
You have traveled far to see us. We hope you had a pleasant journey and that you're not suffering from the cold.
Indlovukazi ithini vela kude kwaye iyathemba ukuthi anigodoli na.
Singagodola kanjani sithamele indlovukazi?
He says, how could they possibly be cold in the presence of the Great White Queen?
No, Baby Yarn, it is certainly not wise to put so much power in the hands of one man. A king gives a stranger an ox, not his whole herd. Mr. Colenbrander?
Inkosi ihlabisa umuntu inkomo, hayi umhlambi wonke.
We shall prepare a letter for you to take to your king, leaving him in no doubt that any Englishman who enters Matabeleland to dig for stones does so without our blessing and without our authority. Mr. Colenbrander?
You've already seen the letter?
No, not yet.
Well, and Knutsford will have to change it.
Won't do any good. Babian's memory is extraordinary. He remembers every word spoken to him.
Well, we're all right then, aren't we? Because everything comes through Colenbrander.
I'm afraid not. The Colonial Office has brought in another interpreter.
What?
Sulu, the hunter. He's an old hand Rhodes. He knows Matabeleland and Mashonaland backwards.
Oh, God, has he been dogging you the whole time?
No, but he was at Windsor. And he's got a copy of your concession from the Colonial Office. He's translated it line by line. The moment those old boys get back to Quabulawayo, you've lost the concession.
Without the concession, there's no charter.
I could keep the old boys away from Quabulaweo till August. Allowing time for news to get from there to here, I could give you a clear 7 months. There's a boat leaving tomorrow, mixed passenger and cargo. Ultimate destination, Cape Town. First stop, Brazil.
Quabulaweo by way of Rio de Janeiro, I like that. Bedroom all right, Harry?
Wonderful. Thanks.
Oh, God, it's so depressing. The battlements of Dunsinane. Never mind, Harry. Tomorrow the parson's son will unfurl his banner and storm the gates.
The likes of Barney Bonato aren't having any part of this.
But he's a director of De Beers, isn't he?
No, Lord Gifford. De Beers has given us status and resources, but their business is diamonds, not colonies. Now, once we have obtained the Royal Charter, then we can float a new company on the exchange. The Charter Company, or the British South Africa Company, call it what you will. And Lobengula's concession becomes our property. That piece of paper, Lobengula's concession, belongs to us, yes? Now, when we have secured the charter, we sell the concession back to the new company for, say, 4 million.
4 million?
Split between us. Means £1 million for you and your partner. Should be sufficient incentive to push your chums in the government, whilst I deal with Her Majesty's opposition.
What?
No, I don't think the Liberals would refuse a substantial contribution to the cause, do you? Then there's the Irish lot. Mr. Parnell's fundraiser has made some very friendly noises.
Parnell, that loose-living blackguard. Now, what the devil can you have in common with a bunch of Irish home rulers?
Rather depends upon the approach, doesn't it?
Rhodes, I think you should see this.
What is it?
This afternoon's Commons debate. They're calling for the resignation of Sir Hercules Robinson.
Bloody radicals. Hercules Robinson was being accused of abusing his official position to further his own personal interests. Never mind. Those old women can't touch us.
Buy him off, shall we?
That's got into you, boy.
Tell me, Rhodes, because I don't know. Does every man have his price? Is it always that simple?
Always, Harry.
So you could square the Pope, could you?
Provided I paid in the right currency, yes. Every man, no matter what his race, color, creed, or religion, has his ambition, his cause. Find the cause, and you'll know what currency to pay him in. And of course, there are a few unimaginative types, the Barney Bonatos and Lord Giffords of this world, whose only ambition is to line their pockets, and you've every right to despise them. But now, take the missionaries, for example. Their cause is to find new lands to spread the gospel. And the manufacturer's cause is to find new markets and the railways to reach them. And the cause of the British people is to enjoy the power and prestige of empire without having to foot the bill. I shall serve all of those causes, Harry, in pursuit of my own.
Which is?
Take this bloody thing with you! Just manners! I don't like you!
What the devil's going on?
Nothing's going on! Except revolting grub! Stench! Flies! To cap it all, bloody bilge water to wash in!
Where the hell are you going?
First I'm going to find a fresh stream, and then I'm having a decent bath!
Don't be a bloody fool.
Thomason, lo mthakashana lo ufuna ungidlisa ushevu.
Cha inkosi nkulu.
Mawuthi cha uyala. Ngandani? Ngifuna utshelela abantu ukuthi lo mthakashana lo ubenzani ethakatha lapha emthonjeni ongathintwa.
Inkonyane kaMzilikazi. Okokuqala wena wakomkhulu. Lo mthakashana lo ukhumule izingubo zakhe. Uthi yasuka lapho umathe okuthile okusampushana. Wakhwila. Amanzi aguquka abaligazi. Uthi yasuka lapho ayisegcoba umzimba wakhe ngamagwebu. Qedana wangena esibeni sengonyama. Kuthe lapho sasibona ukuthi asena kuyimela lento. Sase simdumela. Sabephuqa yonke lemishana kanye nazo zonke into zokuthakatha. Wena wendlovu.
Inkosi enamandla. Uma kwaye ubengazi ukukhuthi lo mthombo ngowakho. Imithi yokuhlamba lena.
Usho ukuthi ayikho ingozi lapho.
Yenza okuhle kodwa inkosi.
Uyabona ke Thompson? Ngifuna isiqinisekiso. Thatha lokuya. Le yampushana. Umnike ayidle. Bese uthatha lamafutha umnika wadle. Umnikele la bhodlela aphuze.
Inkosi nkulu. Lokho akudliwa.
Aha. Uyabona ke? Ungadliwa nje ngithi ushevu.
Cha inkosi nkulu.
Uma kungadliwa kungena ushevu. Mnike ke adle. Walelani pho ukudla. Thatha wena lokudla. Mnike. Thatha mthakathi udle. Akade.
Idla
mthakathi.
I'm afraid you're going to have to eat this.
Lana konke lokho. Yidla yonke lento.
Gwinya.
Our base is crumbling. Our base. Maguire's bolted. Thompson's wavering. Take this down. Dear Thompson. No. My dear Thompson. It seems so hard that by not seeing this through to the finish, you should lose all your credit and all your reward. Nature abhors a vacuum. Your share alone should make you a millionaire, besides all the kudos.
I think you should write this.
What?
Millionaire. His share has gone to Gifford and his cronies. You've cut him out.
I had no choice.
Well, then at least be straight with him.
For God's sake, Harry, do the comparative! Here, Africa, secure for civilization forever, and free from ignorance, pestilence, and war, and here, a squabble over one man's share in some loot!
When I was young, I nearly died. As I lay there, it seemed as though I was led to a higher place, from where I could see a glorious destination.
There were many routes before me. Some meandered pleasantly by riverbanks and meadows. They were broad and grassy and soft underfoot. Yet only one went direct. And from where I stood, I could see that it was narrow and stony. And all along its length, there were men blocking the path. Yet it was so short, so direct. Here, Harry.
Here you see my heartbeat.
So tell me, Harry, did I have a choice?
Well, did he?
What do you think?
I believe in the greater good, certainly.
No matter whom we cheat, corrupt, kill, in order to reach it, can it possibly remain good if it can only be attained through evil?
I believe it can.
Well, then, good and evil have lost their meaning.
They have clear meanings, Mr. Curry. He was right. Hunger, disease, superstition, ignorance, those are evil. But anything that can advance the course of civilization, that has the quality of goodness.
Yes, but what happens to the men who base their lives on that principle? What happens to them on their way to goodness?
Poor old boy.
Poor old nothing. The English are a sentimental people, Gifford. A man has only to resign high office and his critics are silenced and the public canonized. Besides, there's more good to us here.
If I was in his shoes, I'd keep you at arm's length.
Not with the directorship of De Beers in the offing.
Really?
If he serves our cause well enough. At last. Let's meet him halfway, shall we?
Yoo-hoo, Mr. Rhodes. Mr. Rhodes?
Yes, Baroness.
Lady De Vere has such an interesting question to ask you.
No, Auntie.
Oh, don't be shy, dear.
Silly, really. I just wanted to know, if I had to give you this filled to the brim with uncut diamonds, how much would I get?
About 15 years.
I say that was a bit uncalled for, wasn't it?
Nonsense, they'd love it. Living in London, they can't say such things. I can, on the basis of being a South African and therefore a barbarian. Brace yourself.
Ah, Prime Minister, may I introduce Mr. Cecil Rhodes?
Prime Minister, I'm delighted.
Very pleased to meet you, Mr. Rhodes.
That was all mine. Sir Hercules, are you well?
Very well.
Lady Robinson well?
She is very well.
Yes, well, there's no doubt that you'll carry a majority on both sides of the House. But you're not home and dry. Chamberlain and his South African committee will block this charter clause by clause. You're up against some of the most influential members on both sides of the House.
You see, the difficulty I'm having, Mr. Rhodes, is to understand why you should expect the British Crown to endorse your commercial activities and therefore merit the support of the British people, when it seems that your prime motive is to enrich yourself.
Enrich? Mr. Chamberlain, there isn't a clerk in De Beers who lives as simply as I do. Every penny I earn is placed in service of the cause.
Which is what, exactly?
The betterment of humanity.
I'm sure the native peoples of southern Africa would disagree with you. You are known to be fanatically pro-Boer.
No, I have sought to influence the Boers. I believe that's an entirely different matter. Every missionary society in Europe will vouch for me. They know where my true sympathies lie.
You seem to deny any commercial motives.
No, I have sought to make commerce the servant of humanity. Up until now, I have never failed.
So you think of yourself as a religious man, do you, Mr. Rhodes?
Oh. If a religious man is one who strives tirelessly for the benefit of the human race, then yes, I am a religious man.
Harry! We've got him. The two most powerful men on that committee, and they've come over to our side.
Chamberlain?
Well, no, hardly. His type requires a little more watering. No, Lord Grey and the Duke of Abercorn?
They'll vote for the charter.
No, one better. They've agreed to become directors of our new company.
Cecil John Rhodes, His Grace the Duke of Abercorn, Albert Lord Grey, His Grace the Duke of Fife.
Fife?
Yes, son-in-law to Prince Edward. You can't sleep with that, Harry.
What did you offer him?
Same thing as I offered Abercorn and the PM, immortality. We're going to create 3 new African towns, Salisbury, Abercorn and Fife. Good strategy then, Harry. The English will never give up towns named after English dukes. Congratulations. Cheers. Congratulations.
Her Majesty's government will be pleased to advise Her Majesty to grant your company a charter in respect of all the lands specified in your petition. That is, north of British Bechuanaland and the Transvaal Republic, west of Portugal's territories along the Indian seaboard, and east of German territory on the Atlantic coast.
And the north? What are my limits to the north?
Take all you can and ask afterwards.
Babiyan,
Ndabezitha.
ukhona umhlaba wamaNdebele enginikezele ngawo.
Ukhona Ndabezitha. Kungenzeka kanjani ukuthi umlungu akhuphe igolide kodwa umhlaba ngenawo?
Usho ukuthi manje uma igolide lilapha esigodlweni, nakhona bazongena bazogumba.
Yebo Ndabezitha.
Lotsha. Konke lokhu kungenxa yakho. Vala amadle bami. Wangichopha amehlo. Isizwe samaNdebele usikhaphele kufeni. Nkanani?
Ndabezitha.
Msuseni. Ndabezitha! Kula wena Helem. Wena Helem, uzenza umuntu kaNkulunkulu. Kanti wehlukile kubadayisi.
For he's a jolly good fellow, and so say all of us, and so say all of us, and so say all of us. For he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow, and so say all of us. Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hip!
Gentlemen, a toast to Rhodes and the Charter.
Mr. Rhodes! What do you want? I've been robbed, sir.
Get them out of here.
Timmins, stay where you are. Who are you, boy? My name's Frank Johnson. I worked for your partner, Lord Gifford, for 18 bloody months, and I've been cut out, sir. Cut out. Are you going to introduce us to your chum? That's Maurice Heaney, sir. Good. Heaney, please unbolt the door. I can't bear melodrama. Johnson, pull up a chair. You too, Heaney. Well, sit down. Come out, you do!
Sims, clear off. There's a private function. Come on, bugger off. So, Bechuanaland police, eh?
Yes, sir.
What'd you do, filter it?
No, sir, I was...
Oh, sit down, down. Now, Mr. Johnson, you were saying?
I was a quartermaster sergeant, sir, honourably discharged.
Good. Now, what do you want from me?
I want my money back. And my claims.
Blimey. Telegraph. Mr. Rhodes, Kimberly.
Yes, let's get you on with.
He's failed me.
Well, what else did you expect?
What did I expect? I expected to hold the base! Not be outwitted by a couple of old niggers! Well, he'll have to go back.
Go back? What the hell for?
If you can't get something one way, you have to go and get it another. Take a look at these. British Army estimates. Old Carrington reckons I'll need 2,500 men to take Mashonaland at a cost of $250,000. Oh, it's ridiculous. That's what I wanted to hear. How many would you need? 250 maximum. At what cost? Well, give me a day or so and I'll work it out. Here's the keys to my office. Get me an answer by lunchtime. All right.
No.
Want you up there, Jim.
No, that's final.
You and Thompson.
Thompson?
All you have to do is to persuade old Lob to give us the road through Matabele land.
Damn it, man. Thompson's only just got back. The poor beggar's half dead.
Which is exactly why I want you up there with him. Make sure old Lob understands our lads will only be passing through. All the digging will be in Mashonaland. Not one latrine in his country.
No, I'm sorry, Rhodes. I don't want any part of this, and certainly not with that boy Johnson in charge.
He's the best, Jim. The very best. He's a first-class military planner. But when the column goes in, I want you with him. As soon as his lads have taken the country, you're in charge. I'm putting you in charge of a whole new country. You'll be the first governor of Mashonaland. Only one man in a century gets a chance like that. If the whole show goes bust, well, you can always go back to pills.
I'll need time to make my decision.
Oh, well, then cable me in Cape Town. I'm leaving on the afternoon train.
Why?
One last little wrinkle to iron out.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Super. Good.
Fine talk you gave. Do you mind if we have a chat? Only take a moment. Oh, could you put that back on again, please? Thank you. And would you mind turning out the lights? On your way out. Well, we seem to have dogged each other from London to the Cape, don't we? Could you show me the one called Mount Hampden again?
If you wish.
Crowning a high, fertile plateau in the green heart of Mashonaland, wasn't it? What a place. What a place to site my capital.
Your what?
I want you to guide our first column into Mashonaland. Liaison officer, intelligence officer, whatever title you want.
You amaze me, Mr. Rhodes. Whatever it says in your so-called concession, Lobengula has no title to Mashonaland, and consequently, you have no legal right to enter that country. Surely I made myself clear enough tonight. And I imagine you've read my articles?
Oh, yes. I'm rather unhappy about those articles.
Let's leave it at that, shall we?
What happens to a man like you when he passes into middle age? And hunting's a young man's game, surely. Well, of course, you've got your writings and your lectures, yes. And what happens when the source dries up?
Mr. Rhodes, I see no useful purpose in pursuing this discussion.
Perhaps what I'm offering you could be your salvation. An initial payment of £3,000 and £2,000 per annum for as long as you wish to remain in Mashonaland. Well, take your time.
I'll be waiting for you in Kimberley.
Yabona ke angisafuna ukuphinda ngiyibonele nja singitshela amanga amaningi
kodwa inkosi ngeke efulatile mina.
Aw dokotela ulimi soluthombulukile
Akuvume kakule noma sekudlule izinyanga.
noma sekudlula inyanga eziningi uyabona ke wena sengizokwenza indebele sondela
Hey phansi khothama wena ndoda manje usufuna ngaphezulu kwengonyama
Inkosi yazi ukuthi ngeke ungaphezu kwayo. Inkosi yagula. Ngizokwelapha. Ngiyafunga ndaba zita. Nginamandla ukulapha. Uma leshona ilanga isenhlungu zisuphela.
So, how did I do?
All right. You can't click to save your life, then.
Aula.
What's that?
Morphine.
Morphine for gout.
Well, it's one way. Wouldn't recommend it to my favorite patients.
All he has to do is stop drinking the stuff those whites are giving to him.
Yes, but the results wouldn't be quite as dramatic or as useful. Think about it, Thompson. Complete relief, practically instantaneous, then back it comes again, more painful than ever, a bigger dose, and so on.
And then he becomes addicted.
And desperate to grant us anything we ask of him.
Olweni matota
Lana masango
Dokotela unomandla mhlobo wami unomandla ngempela